continuing our coverage now on the King's cancer diagnosis. We're speaking to those who do know him extremely well. Joining us is Robert Hardman from the Daily Mail, whose book Charles III, The Inside Story, has just been published.
And royal commentator Wesley Kerr, who's known King Charles since the 1970s. Very good morning to you both.
Hi. Morning.
Just on that cancer treatment discussion there with the government, of course, you know, as Richard says, this is going to increase pressure on the NHS because people learn about what's happened to the King and think, I'll get myself checked. Despite what Mel Stride said, according to Cancer Research UK, the 62-day target to be seen hasn't been met since 2015. That is well before COVID. And I'm sure the royal family, Robert, and you'll know because you spent a year with the King, that they're not out of touch with that reality of, you know, real people using the NHS as compared to royals using private medicine.
Well, they're not. I mean, I think what we need to remember with the King is he has been a very long-standing, very devoted patron of a number of cancer charities like Macmillan Cancer Care, Marie Curie Breast Cancer Care, and these aren't sort of token patronages. I mean, he really, you know, he engages with them. He's fully up to speed on what they're doing, their techniques, and meets a lot of both the people who deliver and the people and the patients. So he's very well informed on this. He will know. I mean, I think in terms of how the NHS can respond to the uptake in interest, I mean, that's clearly way out of, that's nothing to do with him. But I think if in some way what we've seen, and we already saw it with the announcement over the enlarged prostate, where if all this leads to a greater awareness both on the part of patients and the health system, I think, you know, he will regard that as a positive.
Well, can we talk about his personal reaction to this news? We know that for many people, when they're given a diagnosis of cancer, one of the first responses, especially if they lead a healthy lifestyle, is, why me? It's a very common response. What do you think the Prince's response would have been, given that he does lead a very, very exceptionally healthy lifestyle?
He's the King now, remember?
The King, I should say.
He's certainly, yeah, he's an abstemious eater, drinker, and is very fit. I mean, I've seen that myself. But he's very stoical, he's philosophical, he has a strong faith. I think because we've often tended to fixate on his interest in other faiths, we don't look at his own. But I mean, he's not a panicker. The late Queen was not a panicker. This will be very much okay. We've got to handle this. You know, we've got. I think when you've grown up in a situation where at any minute you could take on this role, but actually you've had to wait 73 years. He's very much. In fact, the wording was there in his message after the Queen's death. He said, "The remaining time God grants me." That's as far as he's concerned, it's up to the Almighty.
His former publicity chief shared with us today that her thoughts that he would actually be, being him, very curious about it.
Yeah, I think he will definitely. He'll want to know. He loves bundles of papers and consulting panels of boffins. Yeah, I mean, there are going to be questions coming thick and fast. But what I'm hearing is that I think the problem at the moment is going to be to rein in the paperwork, you know, to sort of slow him down. Because yes, he has to cancel his public engagements. He can't be out there in rooms full of people with all the obvious risks of infection while he undergoes treatment. But that doesn't have any bearing on the amount of stuff he wants to do privately, and I think they're going to have to say, look, we might put a little less in his red boxes, a little less correspondence, please, sir. You need to take it easy.
Wesley, quite different in some ways from the Queen, because we never had this amount of detail about the state of the Queen's health, did we?
I think the statement yesterday was as comprehensive a statement as I've ever seen about a senior member of the royal family's health. I mean, not the form of cancer, but how it was found. I thought it was interesting that it was found during the recent procedure. So I thought it was very, very measured. And I think the fact that they're saying they won't, this is what we're here for now, I would have thought that within a few weeks, as the treatment progresses, it will be impossible to hold back further details. But I think that it would have been inappropriate yesterday to provoke more speculation about how long has he got. I mean, he may live a perfectly healthy life. He may have a few months or a year of treatment and then come out the other side in remission. So I think that's really important. This is an extremely significant event, but I think it's terrific that they have shared. And I, for one, when I leave, will be arranging my PSA test, which it's a year. No, it's exactly a year since I last had one. A person of my age, black person, should have an annual PSA test. They contacted me last week, and I will arrange that.
And that's to check in case there is any early signs of prostate cancer.
Yeah. So I think that awareness raising is terrific. And although he, yes, will be having private treatment, the same private specialist that sees him will also be seeing NHS patients.
Robert, what do we think has prompted this complete overturning of the royal family's attitude to this kind of public statement? I mean, we scarcely knew, those of us outside the royal circle, that the Queen was dying until basically she died. And then we were told a very, very small amount. We weren't even told why and how she died. But look at this now. What's prompted this dramatic change in attitudes?
I think this was always going to be his approach to the job. I think we saw it right away in those very early days of the reign. If you think back to 1952, when the Queen became Queen, we didn't hear the Queen say anything for 10.5 months until her Christmas broadcast. With King Charles III, 24 hours after the death of the Queen, he was on the airwaves addressing the nation, hit the ground running around the country, talking to people. He's comfortable with a greater degree of transparency. I mean, we saw that with the Accession Council. I mean, we've never even seen a Privy Council and even the sort of clips of it on telly. Suddenly there's the whole thing on live TV. Yes, we remember it because of the problems he had with his fountain pen. But actually, that's a sort of what I found most significant about that moment was it was happening at all on live TV, and we've heard this again and again, and we've seen the way that he will plough into a crowd. He loves walkabouts. He's of his generation. He's more comfortable talking about these things than the generation of his mother and his father. That's natural.
Prince Harry, we understand, is about to arrive imminently. Some people might think, does that mean it's serious? Whereas most people, I think, are thinking, brilliant. He wants to support. It's a very difficult diagnosis for anyone to take. So Prince Harry wants to be there with his dad. I
think it's really wonderful news. It draws a line, I think, under all that nasty disputatiousness. I don't think we'll be seeing further interviews criticising. Maybe he's got all of that out, and I think that this is an obvious moment for reconciliation. Charles has only got
William as well?
Well, if I was the brothers, this would be an obvious moment for reconciliation and focusing on their beloved papa and not on fratricidal issues.
And very, very briefly, just in a sentence really, we all know that when we get a bad diagnosis like this, we lean most heavily on those closest to us and that we love. How important will Camilla be?
Central, absolutely central to it. I thought the way that she was just carrying on last week, and she knew stuff we didn't know, and yet, she got on with it. I think she's going to be central. I think the whole family are. I think the Prince of Wales back on duty now. That's important. I don't overlook the importance of the Princess Royal either. Absolutely central to all this. It's a slimmed-down monarchy. And
they'll all be working hard. And Camilla, absolutely, the number of visits in the hospital, the 2 on the Sunday, presumably the day that he was told.
Yes.
I mean, she really is his rock, and I think it's a wonderful love story.
He's lucky to have her, isn't he?
Very.
Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.